All right, welcome to another video. Let's talk about the causes of hangover. There's a lot of stuff about your past that can be brushed underneath the rug. There's a lot of stuff about my past that I can brush underneath the rug, so to speak. There's a lot of stuff about my past drinking days that I just don't remember. You know, for one reason or another, they're gone, they're blocked off, or I was too blocked off to remember them in the first place. But my hangovers, or at least certain specific individual hangovers, these are things that are forever going to be etched onto my brain. So they're just something that is part of my past, and there's something that helps me to keep going forwards, you know, and I think I'm never going back to that life. So the question is, what causes hangover symptoms? If we're going to be totally honest with ourselves, we have to say that there is only one cause of hangover, and that's the alcohol itself, right? So the hangover symptoms are caused by the alcohol, right? That's the real truth. You know, when I think back to all the bad hangovers that I had, without me putting alcohol into my mouth in large amounts of alcohol, there are no hangovers. I haven't got that stuff etched into my brain, right? I joke sometimes about nowadays I go to a party or something and I've eaten loads of foods like crisps or potato chips or sweets or cakes or that kind of thing, and that kind of food, and I'm eating it in sort of bigger amounts than I would usually do. And I joke that the next day I've got a food hangover. But, you know, it's just a joke, right? You know, what I feel in those moments is nothing in comparison to the illness that I felt after so much alcohol poisoning. That's the only thing I can call it. And for me, the hangovers, those hangovers that I were getting were the kind of hangovers that I used to think, you know, these things are getting worse and worse and worse. You know, I used to think sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'd think I was going to have a heart attack. And I've never felt as bad in my life, physically as bad as I did with those hangovers. And there's a good reason behind that, right? So anyone who has stopped drinking, they're going to tell you that once you unplug yourself from the alcohol, you also unplug yourself from the hangover, right? No more drinking, no more hangover. Or to put it truthfully, in plain terms, no more poisoning, right? So one thing follows another. And one of the best things about never putting this poison into your body again is you're unplugging yourself from having to ever go through that alcohol poisoning again. Never another hangover, ever, right? So let's dig into some of it's the best way of calling this, the peripheral reasons why your hangovers feel the way that they do. First up, we've got the good old dehydration. Alcohol suppresses the release of a hormone called vasopressin. And this hormone sends a signal to the kidneys to hold on to fluid. It regulates your water balance, your blood pressure, your blood volume. And the end result is that the alcohol that you've paid good money for is quickly and literally flushed down the toilet, right? Causing you to become dehydrated, causing more thirst, which the alcohol companies love, by the way, right? So that's dehydration. Now, the next thing up is disrupted sleep. Drunken people or alcohol poisoned people, whatever way you want to look at this, it might feel like they're falling asleep faster, but there's a huge difference between proper sleep and just being unconscious. While you're unconscious, your body might have the appearance of being asleep, but it's not at rest. And that's the point of sleep, right? To be at rest, to rest and to recuperate and get up the next morning feeling like you can tackle the day ahead and you've got the energy to do it, right? Have you ever seen somebody who is unconscious while they're blind drunk, right? You know, I remember photographs, people taking photographs of me. Thankfully, I haven't got any of those, but I remember them in my past, and it's not a pretty sight, right? And the reason is really simple. There's an emergency situation going on throughout your body because your defense mechanisms, your self-defense systems, they're trying to eliminate the poison as quickly as possible. They're trying to limit the injury that is being caused by this poison being inside your body. So at the best, sleep is going to be fragmented. Unconsciousness is going to be fragmented. And we all know that once that numbing effect of the alcohol is worn off, then you start to recover your consciousness again. And that's not a great wake-up call, right? How many times I remember saying to myself, I'm never going to do this again. This is the last time I'm doing that. I feel so shit now. That's it. So with a hangover, you have sleep that isn't sleep, rest that isn't rest, and you're left with a physical and mental tiredness that is going to drag all the way through that day, caused wasting the day, right? So you wasted the night before, now you're wasting the whole day and beyond that day. My hangovers were starting to go into 2 and 3 days. Now, before I move on, if you're tired of that never-ending cycle of hangovers and you want to unplug from this life-sucking poison, I encourage you to check out our beginner's guide to unplugging from alcohol. It's in the description below. It's a quick course, gives you some basic ideas and concepts, and helps you to shift away from this destructive way of thinking, right? Leaving behind the mini withdrawals, the dehydration, the crap sleep that comes with putting a poison in your body, and starting a life where there's never another hangover ever again. That's a good life. So let's move on to the last one, which is mini withdrawals. Now, while hangovers themselves are not entirely withdrawal is certainly a part of the hangover. You know, alcohol withdrawal is not just something that happens when you decide to unplug from the alcohol, right? It starts happening as soon as the alcohol leaves your system, or it starts happening as soon as enough alcohol starts to leave your system or has left your system. So alcohol is a depressant, which means when you drink alcohol, it slows down your brain. Your brain tries to balance this out by turning up the activity in your brain, turns on a chemical called glutamate, which makes your brain more active. And if you drink a lot of alcohol and then you stop, your brain is still turned up, right? That volume of your brain, if you like, is still turned up. And that's part of what makes you feel like you're having a hangover. Now, alcohol also increases dopamine. A lot of people associate the dopamine with alcohol, and that's part of the hangover as well. But the long-term effect of alcohol, which is often, it's called the feel-good chemical. And it's not that the alcohol makes you feel good, it's the dopamine hit that makes you feel good. Now, the problem with dopamine is that if you drink a lot over time, your brain gets used to having more dopamine, right? Which screws around with the dopamine pathways, and then you start to not feel good without alcohol in your system. And that's the problem. That's the dependency there, right? So overall, alcohol is like, think about it like a grenade going off in your brain, a chemical grenade, right? Which messes around with the different brain chemicals, the balance of those brain chemicals. It messes with the structure, with the effects of those chemicals on your brain. And that's the scary part. You know, that's the part that carries over into your life long after the physical feeling of the hangover is gone. Now, it's hard to predict how many drinks are going to cause a hangover. You know, it depends on the person, on the circumstances, lots of different factors, right? But there's a certainty, an absolute guarantee that no alcohol in your body will cause no hangover, no poison, no poisoning, right? And this is the only guarantee you'll ever have, that you will never have a hangover again. Stop the flow, stop putting the alcohol into your mouth, right? So get the free course below, check out the full program at Habits V2. Take care of yourself, and I'll speak to you soon. Onwards and upwards, eh? Bye now.